Welcome, everyone. Welcome to daily meditation with our guiding teacher for this week, Miles Kessler. My name is Faith Bosworth. I'm supporting as host for today. I'll be around for the rest of the week in case you run into any issues. A very warm welcome to Miles, who's joining us from Tel Aviv today. So very grateful to have you with us, Miles, guiding us through, offering us the Dharma during this period of crisis. And Miles actually kind of pivoted on the theme, which is a great kind of, I think, manifestation of the Dharma, responding to the theme, to the daily meditation theme that he'd set didn't really make sense in what is arising right now in the world. So the theme today has been changed to meditation in crisis. So thank you, Miles, on behalf of the community. I'm sure many people are very grateful for having someone to guide us on that topic. So a little bit about Miles, if this is your first time sitting with him. He's a regular teacher with us at Sangha Live. And his training he's a lineage holder in the Mahasi tradition of meditation. And he's been teaching for over 25 years, meditation and the embodiment of spiritual awakening, also Aikido. His work focuses on establishing the practice of mindfulness, progressing through the development of meditative insight, and the evolving of expression of Dharma in the world. So thank you, Miles. And if this is your first time as well, I think most of you, I recognize your names, but we run for 60 minutes approximately, well, 55 now. And we start with talk, some guidance from the teacher, and then we go into a 30-minute practice. And then there's 15 minutes at the end for questions and answers or sharing. And you can do that either by typing your question in the chat. And we ask that you, at the front of the question, just type question in caps so we can tell the difference between the questions and the general chat. Or if you would like to come on screen, that's also very welcome. All you need to do is there's a little hand at the bottom of the window. If you click on that, it raises your digital hand, and then I can bring you on screen. And last thing to say is that all these sessions are run on the basis of Dharma, which is the Buddhist principle of mutual generosity. What that means in practical terms is that you don't pay to show up here, and you're always welcome to be here with us, regardless of what's happening in your life and your financial means. But that also means that we do rely on donations from the community when you are able to keep this whole system of Sangha Live running and to support our teachers like Miles. So if you would like to donate, that would be very appreciated by us and by Miles. And in order to make sure that Miles gets your donation, your Dharma, you can donate anytime until Friday night, midnight, UK time. All right. And to do that, it's sangha.live/donate. And I'll place the link in the chat as well. Thanks very much, Miles.
Thank you, Faith, and welcome everybody to this week of daily meditations on the theme of meditation in the time of crisis, Dharma in the time of crisis. As Faith was introducing, I was kind of dropping into what's really happening here at this time. So I'm going to have to ask your forgiveness if I drift into the wound a little bit today. I'm going to do my best to, stay present for, our purpose here. But, like everybody in this region right now, I'm also an open wound for what's happening. And one more small technical point. Today there's no school here. Our kids are studying on Zoom, and my daughter just finished one class, and she's sitting here with me in the studio. If she interrupts us, I just ask for your forgiveness there. She's super sweet, so yeah, I don't think it'll be long if she does. So here we are in yet another, the latest chapter, the latest heartbreaking chapter in an endless cycle of chapters of human sufferings that we inflict on each other and we inflict on ourselves. And today's meeting is not really to go into the details of that. It's an incredibly polarized topic, and what's one of the reasons it's such a wicked problem. And whatever, should this problem ever move towards a solution, should this problem ever move towards a resolution, should this problem ever move towards a healing, or as Martin Luther King, should it move not towards chaos but towards community, we can hope and pray and stay open for that to happen. But should that ever happen, fundamentally, it's going to require some open hearts and open minds, and the capacity for us to hold the incredibly uncomfortable tension within this particular polarization. And the development of that capacity is exactly what you and I are doing here in our meditation practice. The development of that capacity is what we're doing in our Dharma practice. And how we respond and react, or don't respond or don't react, or run away from or attack, or our basic kind of caveman, cavewoman, cave people responses to conflict. Our capacity to hold open for an emerging solution is completely determined by yours, and mine, everybody's interior, what's happening inside of us. Welcome to meditation. That's the work that we are doing. And I entitled this week of daily meditations, Meditation in the Time of Crisis, or it could be Dharma in the Time of Crisis. And that basically comes from an experience that I had in my own meditation practice, on my own meditation journey, I should say. At a certain age, I was 37, I guess, something like that. But at a certain point in my life, I went to do a deeper practice in Burma. I wanted to commit to longer retreats in Asia's. It's not necessarily the best conditions because, there's a lot of mosquitoes and whatever. It's not so luxurious. But, if you want to go for a long period of time and do it in an affordable way, that's kind of the best place to go. And I went to Burma, which is like Thailand and Sri Lanka, Cambodia, Laos. It's a traditional Buddhist culture, traditional Buddhist country, where they beautifully preserved and preserve to this day the Dharma, and especially the practice of meditation. I happened to go to seek out a teacher named Sayadaw U Pandita, who's that's actually him right back there. He's my core teacher. And on my very first meeting with him, which is a whole other story, but it was quite one of these fateful meetings, he said something to me that made me realize that I had found the place I was looking for. He said that 100% of the suffering in the world has its root cause in the mind. 100% of the suffering in the world has its root cause in the mind. 100% of my suffering has its root cause in the mind. 100% of your suffering has its root cause in the mind. Oh my God. What a beautiful teaching to receive, because it made it very, very clear. Two things made it very clear, that whatever I do on the outside is kind of, like proverbial rearranging the chairs on rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Okay, good. Let's do that. But the root cause is here. So that was number one. It made me realize kind of the orientation is towards my interior. But number two, it is probably one of the most empowering teachings I ever received, because it made it very clear that it's in our minds. The work that we're doing is inside of our own minds, and we are taking it on ourselves. Will that bring peace to the Middle East? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I know some of you here. I've met many of you, but I got a feeling, like for sure, Faith and my friend Sabina's here, and the other people that I know. I'm sure that if we had to sit around the table and figure this all out, we would have a good chance of doing it. And I don't know if it's only because of our Dharma, our commitment to Dharma practice, only because of our commitment to the purification of the mind, but our ability to stay open and hold space when, excuse my French, but when the shit is hitting the fan and all of the bells and whistles inside of us, all that trauma, all of the recapitulation of suffering, violence that we commit and perpetrate upon each other, when that's all going off, do we have the space to contain it? Or have we lost the space to contain it? Now, as a meditator, it can be either one of those, and it's okay. Our job is simply to know what's arising in the present moment, whether it's pleasant, neutral, or unpleasant, or excruciatingly unpleasant, to, in a way, accept that first teaching from the Buddha, the first noble truth, that high level truth, that noble truth, the high level truth, higher than all relative truths. Is it Israel? Is it Palestine? That's all relative. Truth's in there, but it doesn't matter. However we debate it, it's going to come down to being relative. But that high level, noble truth, that absolute truth, dukkha sicca, suffering exists. It is a fact. Doesn't mean life is suffering, although right now life is suffering like acutely. I'm acutely aware of how life is suffering for many people in this region right this moment. I just have to walk out the door. Don't even think about the door, you know. But this first noble truth of dukkha sacca simply means that being born as a human being, coming into this existence with a human body, a human mind, means that we are going to suffer. Period. It doesn't mean it's all suffering. Right now, it kind of looks that way. It's very difficult to see beyond it right now, especially here. Sorry, like I said, I'm kind of walking the edge of the wound. Forgive me. There are good times. I mean, when I'm with my kids and in those moments of beauty and truth and goodness, it's super satisfying. No suffering there, but those pass away. It comes and it goes. And all we have to do, we don't even have to look at the world news. World news is like, yeah, wow, oh my God. We don't even have to do that. We could be up in the Himalayas in a cave, far away from everything. Just close our eyes and turn in, and you'll actually realize that this truth is truth. It is true. It is true at all times. It is true in all places, and it is true in all circumstances. 100% of the world's suffering has its root cause in our minds. What a wonderful starting point. Because if we really want to alleviate suffering, if we really want to open up to suffering, if we really want to not just other people's suffering, but our own suffering, if we really want to heal that suffering, if we want to move from the wound, where we're kind of open, bloody wound moving through the world, forgive the image there, but if we want to move from the wound and heal to where we are moving from the scar, where that wound has been healed and it is integrated, and now the very wound that we carry becomes healed, and the scar is actually a gift that we can share with the world for other people who are in the midst of a wound. If that's what we're interested in, then the practice begins right here. What's the time? Yeah. So let me just say a few technical points about how we're doing this practice, and then we'll sit for 30 minutes. Faith, if I'm getting the time wrong, maybe remind me, because it's maybe 6 months since I joined you guys here. But we'll sit for 30 minutes, and there'll be about 15 minutes at the end for questions. So remember the basic quality of mindfulness. You can do, there's many different types of meditation, wonderful meditations, many types of Buddhist meditations, many types of non-Buddhist meditations. There's concentration-based meditations, one path, and there's mindfulness-based meditations. And what I'm offering and what we're doing, I think what you're usually doing in this group, I'm not sure, but is more on the mindfulness side. And if we just look at the basic characteristic of mindfulness, that characteristic of mindfulness is non-superficiality. That's what it says in the Abhidhamma in Buddhist psychology. When you look at the definition of mindfulness, the fundamental characteristic is non-superficiality. What does that mean? That means that it has the quality of sinking or quality of deepening. This is mindfulness meditation 101. You take a cork from a wine bottle, throw it on the water, it bobs up and down on the surface. That is our ordinary attention, ordinary awareness. Or if you take a stone and you throw it onto the water, the moment it hits the surface, with no delay, it sinks. The moment you activate mindfulness, your attention, what you're aware of, begins to sink. So as Faith was doing the introduction and kind of laying out, how I couldn't help really but change the theme, I became mindful of that, and I started, and that mindfulness sank. And what happened when that mindfulness sank? I became more aware of what's actually there, the quote unquote wound. I'm also aware that I'm having to lead this, so I don't want to lead from the wound. I'm also aware that my daughter's over there, all 6 years old of her, and she's busy right now, but hopefully she won't interrupt this. But we become more aware of what's happening in our mind-body system. And if that first noble truth, the truth of suffering, happens to be cycling through our experience, because it cycles in, it stays for a while, it tortures us for a while, and then it cycles out. Thank God that's over, but then it cycles back in. If we happen to be in a phase of dukkha, as we become mindful, we are going to become more mindful of that dukkha. Well, in a way, we're going to become like a snake in a tube. And as the snake's that big and the tube is that big, there's not much room in there. But as it goes forward, it realizes, oh my God, this is a tube. But for the snake in the tube, there's only one way out, and that's through. And in that sense, mindfulness is our greatest resource. With a caveat. I don't want to assume that everybody's kind of an open wound as I am. But if you're not, that's great. I'm happy for you. But you can reflect on times that are more difficult, for sure. The caveat is that our mindfulness is going to take us deeper into our experience. And if dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, suffering, pain, whatever, happens to be phasing in, then mindfulness will carry us through that. So trusting our mindfulness. The caveat is that if that dukkha is too overwhelming in the moment, then you are empowered to choose to stop being mindful. You are empowered to choose to relax the concentration, to break the meditation. Everything has a process, and that also needs to be respected and honored. So the basic characteristic of mindfulness is that it sinks. So as we begin this meditation, establish your anchor. Everybody has a different anchor, different technique method. Breath is quite common. In my case, it's breath in the belly, the movement of the belly. It could be the breath here. It could be a body scan. It could be thoughts. It could be feelings. It doesn't matter. Establish your anchor. Be mindful of that anchor. as a home base, notice the quality of sinking, because in your anchor, you're probably going to notice that the most, because that's our go-to. When the mind slips away, should it slip away, thinking whatever, sleepiness, restlessness, doubts, oh, woe is me, whatever. If the mind collapses or slips away into those types of thoughts, the moment you're aware, just simply be mindful of that. Let your knowing of that experience deepen. That's the path forward. And then maybe label or whatever method you like to use there, and then return to your anchor. Because the anchor is where your practice is going to deepen. And the deepening of your practice is the forward leading path. Whatever arises as your practice deepens, whatever arises in the course of that deepening, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever arises in the course of that deepening is the forward leading path. So, finding a comfortable yet upright, energized posture. Take a moment and check in on the body. The body's a nice place to begin because it's gross, and all you have to do is turn in, and whatever the predominant experiences, sensations are in the body will arise to your mind. Take a moment, know those sensations, allow mindfulness to sink or deepen. We're not trying to sink. We're not trying to dive. We're not trying to force depth. No, no, no. We're simply knowing what's arising and sustaining that knowing moment by moment. And in that sustaining, notice what subtle qualities and characteristics begin to appear. That is the deepening. It happens organically. And now take a moment and shift your mindfulness to your feelings of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Generally in the body, there's going to be a pleasantness, an unpleasantness, and a neutrality. Knowing that those feelings can be taken as an object. The pleasantness can be taken as an object of your meditation. The unpleasantness can be taken as an object. Also notice the emotional quality of your experience. Notice if it's more on the pleasant side, joy, happiness, etc. Notice if it's more on the unpleasant side, irritation, restlessness, doubts, whatever emotions or feelings are rising. And just simply know that you can take that. And in fact, you should from time to time take that feeling of pleasantness or unpleasantness as an object of meditation. More subtle than the body, but it is an object that should be observed. And now shifting your attention to the mind, which is even more subtle than feelings. Noticing the mental state, the qualities and characteristics of the mind. Is there thoughts? Is there dialogue? Is there monologue? Is there judgment? Is there expectation? Is there preference? All completely normal to arise in the course of your meditation. And notice if there's any movement to control your mental state within the mind. Is the mind trying to control the mind? Are you setting yourself up for an internal struggle with yourself? The mind struggling with the mind resisting the mind avoiding the mind, all completely normal, natural experiences in the course of your practice. Observing differentiated awareness, and in that differentiation, observing non judgmentally. And in that non judgmental observation, observing with curiosity. What is happening? How is my experience evolving? What is the process? And now shifting to the breath as your anchor. And I'm sure many of you have another anchor, a different anchor other than the breath. Should that be the case, then please do that. Do what you normally do. I'm just going to speak about the breath. And as you're mindful of the breath, notice the specific physical sensations you experience on the in breath. Notice the specific physical sensations you notice on the out breath. Notice the qualities and the characteristic of your experience on the in breath and the qualities and characteristics of your experience on the out breath. And should you find that you're able to sustain that mindfulness on the in breath and the out breath, then notice what happens to those sensations, qualities, and characteristics as you continue to observe. Being mindful of each breath in each moment, moment by moment, breath by breath. Bringing your mindfulness back to your breath. Feel the breath. Bringing your mindfulness back to the body. Feel the body. Bringing your mindfulness to your mind and know your mental state. And bring your mindfulness to the heart and feel the heart. And feeling the space on the inside. And as you slowly open your eyes, coming out of the meditation, feel the space on the outside. And give yourself a few moments to come out of the meditation. Before we go into Q&A, just reflect on your state right now. Reflect on where you're at. There's a good chance that you're feeling more than you were 30 minutes ago when we started. There's a good chance that you're mindful of more than you were 30 minutes ago when we started. There's a good chance that your experience has deepened. Might deepen into more suffering, but deepening is good. It's deeper now than it was 30 minutes ago. And now reflect on the Buddha's words upon his passing. Be a refuge unto yourself. Be an island unto yourself. Be a lamp unto yourself. It's a beautiful injunction to kind of hold close to us in these times. So we have about 10 minutes left for any questions that anybody may have. And let me just put it this way before we take questions. Oh my God, having a discussion about the current conflict is super, super important, but this meeting is different. I'm involved with those discussions quite a bit, dialogues, whatever. But this meeting is different. This is a practice meeting. So if you could keep them to practice first and foremost, and after that, if there's any theoretical questions, that would be okay as well. So I've got the chat open. You can raise your hand, or you can, if you want to come on screen, or you can open or write the question in the chat, and just encourage you to keep them short and to the point. Patricia says, deep gratitude, dear Miles, steadying us in the midst of suffering and showing us how to bring air, light, kindness to our wounds. Your generosity, thank you. Okay, Henry's got a question here. He says that I didn't understand that the nature of mindfulness is to sink. The characteristic of mindfulness is to sink. According to the Abhidhamma, Buddhist psychology, that's the definition of, if you look up the definition, the it's a fourfold definition: characteristic, function, and manifestation, and then proximate cause. And the characteristic is non-superficiality. That means that it sinks. So that's why the metaphor of the stone on the water is often used with mindfulness. Western teachers tend to use different, non-Abhidhamma, non-Buddhist psychology definitions. John Kabat-Zinn, who's kind of the father of the mindfulness movement, says that mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way, with that's non-judgmental and open with curiosity, something like that. So it's all the same. If you do that, the experience is going to deepen. Does this mean that the awareness of your anchor strengthens and pushes dukkha from awareness? The only thing, God bless you, Henry. The only thing that pushes dukkha from awareness is the ego, the sense of self, our sense of self. That is the preference of the mind, of the non-mindful mind. Nobody wants dukkha. Oh my God. Sit down, you meditate. I want it to be stress-free, love, peace, happiness, kumbaya. But guess what happens? The first noble truth happens. We start to see that dukkha, sitya, is the truth of suffering, that it exists, that it comes, it goes, and it comes back, and it goes, and it comes back. Pushing that away is just perpetuating, strengthening, reinforcing the resistance towards the dukkha. So the quality of mindfulness does not do that. We do that for sure. The quality of mindfulness has that basic acceptance in the face of dukkha, in the face of this first noble truth that dukkha exists. And in acceptance, sometimes that suckiness sucks more. That's the path forward. As long as we're not overwhelmed by it, that's the path forward, because that's also the path where it sucks less and we move out of it. We move more into equanimity. And by the way, equanimity is not the absence of dukkha. Equanimity is the unshakable equipoise, balance in the face of the greatest experiences and the worst experiences. The mind is unshakable. Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Anne. Thank you, Lizzie. David, good to hear. Good to be here with all of you this morning. Yeah, me too. Sangha, so beautiful. Philip says, yes, Patricia, that would be my gratefulness as well. Good to see you, David. Okay, Lisa has a question. Lisa says, and by the way, if somebody wants to come on, raise your hand in Faith, or we'll bring you on the screen. Lisa says, when the suffering is less obviously in the mind, e.g., when you have tinnitus screaming in your ear, and mindfulness only makes the tinnitus and the suffering with it more acute, what can you do? Yeah, so tinnitus, I've got slight tinnitus. That's a tough one. And I can imagine if that volume was turned up, it would be even maddening. Well, remember, if tinnitus is what's arising in your experience, the path forward is only going to be in accepting that. And then we have this caveat. If it's overwhelming, when we're overwhelming, we don't have to be relentless in our acceptance. We don't have to be relentless in our facing, once more into the breach. If you've got the stability of mind, and that is a developmental quality. It also depends on the conditions. Even the most developed meditators, most experienced, most mature meditators, that all falls apart at times as well. But when we have the stability of mind, we're able to stay with the dukkha. Think of a pain. Tinnitus is something, for sure. But think of a pain in the body. Can you focus? Can you stay with the pain? Can you hold the pain? The ability to hold the pain is concentration. The ability to hold the pain is actually energetic effort. The ability to stay with the pain and not become destabilized by the pain is concentration. If you have that quality to hold center and stabilize the attention, your mindfulness will take it in deeper. That's the path forward. It's also the path out. If that becomes destabilized and you're struggling to hold it together, that would be wrong effort. That would be the misuse of effort. That's efforting. That's the internal struggle. with ourselves. So there's always this in Aikido we say blending, the awase, this blending with what's happening in the moment. And sometimes you will find, and again, it depends on the internal conditions, you'll find that the concentration is, and you can sit as if in a hurricane, like a mountain that's immovable. Other times it won't be that way. It's going to all fall apart. Mindfulness is just being mindful of that as well. Stability of mind, or the kuzureru in Japanese, the destabilization of mind. I hope that helps, Lisa. Savina Q is not it is not it faster just to ignore suffering. God bless you, Savina. Sure, it's faster, I guess. It's faster, I guess, but it's it's ignoring suffering is just prolonging it. It's you. What are you going to do? You're going to annoy. Basically, it's annoying suffering is denying existence. Denying existence. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross has this beautiful teaching of the 5 stages of grieving when somebody near and dear to our hearts dies, passes away. I've experienced it in my life. Perhaps you have too. Just see the mind. Oh my God, we deny like hell. And then we get angry and we try to fight it. And then we try to bargain and I'll quit smoking or I'll go on a diet. Please don't take my loved one away from me. All that bargaining. God bless us all. But then as the mind more and more accepts it, that's the forward path. Savina, that is the forward path. That's the path that leads toward liberation of suffering, liberation from suffering, liberation in suffering. That forward leading path is going into it. It takes us into a dark night. Not to be depressing, but actually, if you reframe that and embrace it with full acceptance, it's empowering, because that will lead us through the dark night and into beyond, which is a profound acceptance. There are times when deepening is just unbearable. Yes, Rivka, my God, especially these times, it is unbearable. Be gentle with yourself. Seek support with friends, family, loved ones, community, sangha. Develop the capacity to be a refuge unto yourself. And then when it falls apart, when that wound is just open and it falls apart, fall apart. Because it's the truth, and what's arising in our practice is our forward leading path. We may need an external support to help us through. Our friends, loved ones, if you know any Palestinians, if you know any Jews, or certainly Israelis, they're not doing okay right now. They're not. Reach out to them. Offer them some love, support. Makes me want to cry. Excuse me. Maureen says, let me check the time. Oh my God, we're out of time. All right. Faith, I'm sorry. I lost the time for a moment.
No worries, we can answer these questions tomorrow.
Perfect.
I'll
So we
save
were
it
on
for tomorrow.
Marine Leary is the last one that I didn't get to. Oh, can I just say one thing? Sorry about the time, everybody. Sorry, Faith. Tomorrow we're going to look at what is crisis, our Dharma in the face of, what is crisis, exploring that. On Wednesday, we're going to look at what is the spiritual warrior. On Thursday, we're going to look at the Tengu's mirror. And on Friday, we're going to look at the Aikido Koan. So that's the rest of the topics for the rest of the week. Thank you all for joining me in this day of practice. And I want to wish you the best. And maybe we can just reflect on, I hope to see you in the coming days. And maybe we can reflect on the Buddha's injunction to be a lamp unto ourselves. And if somebody around you needs some support, a little bit of love goes a long way. Thank you. Thank you, Faith.